Astrology isn't just about signs and symbols. It's a tool for navigating real life. Hello, and welcome to Astrology with Elisa. I'm your host, Elisa Dixon, and I'm so glad you're here. Let's dive in. Today, I'm sharing another conversation from NORWAC. This one is with Adam Elenbaas, astrologer and founder of Nightlight Astrology. Adam is an incredible teacher with an entire astrology school and curriculum. And he also puts out astrology content every day on the Nightlight Astrology podcast. I definitely encourage you to check it out if you haven't already. But in the meantime, here's my conversation with Adam. Okay, I am so excited. I am at NORWAC and I am talking to the legendary Adam Elenbaas of Nightlight Astrology. And I'm just so excited. So Adam, one of the main things that I talk about on my podcast with my listeners is all about practical astrology for real life. So how do you personally use astrology in your everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, because I prepare content every day, the preparation of content is I meditate every day before I prepare that content. So there's a lot of the content prep process that for me is actually like a meditation on the transits of the day or week. And that would, that's for me, that really is kind of a spiritual practice. But aside from that, it's less about predicting what's going to happen and then checking boxes that I get it right or wrong. And it's more about, I like to call it turning the archetypal jewel. So we've got, for example, Mars and Pluto are squaring in the sky right now. How can we think about Mars, Pluto? How can I start turning that jewel and all of the different images and metaphors and themes that come through those planets in their combination? And by raising my awareness of them, then when they appear in my experiences and the events of my life, I have more consciousness and I have more space to participate as opposed to getting pulled along by them. Because ancient astrologers, especially in the Indian tradition where planets were called grahas, which means grabbers, that the word in Sanskrit, graha, can mean to be grabbed or to grasp. So if we're consciously meditating on these archetypal fields as they unfold, then we have relational and participatory space. We have breathing room. If we're not, then we tend to get unconsciously dragged along by them. So to me, it's a way of raising consciousness, much more than it is about trying to figure out what's going to happen. Exactly.
I love that, and being more intentional with the energy.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay, totally switching gears. Which planet has caused the most chaos in your life?
Oh, God. They all have different kinds of chaos.
That is such a fair statement.
Gosh, I would say, Pluto for me tends to be long, slow burns. Whereas the one that really brings chaos is Uranus. And I am thankful for, I can't say that Uranus has been like a bad thing at all. It's been good, but destabilizing, really,
100%.
and erratic and hard to predict. Pluto, you start feeling it coming. It's like the approach of family gathering you got to think about for 2 weeks before everyone arrives at your house, and then you're dealing with the whole family and you think you're enlightened, but then you're not. And, and Pluto's he lets you know you're coming. There's this ominous slow boil that starts happening. With Uranus, it feels more like, someone crazy knocks at your door and in 2 seconds you're in this wild encounter, So,
oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Yeah.
Uranus has definitely come up before. That's it. You kind of can't talk about any other planet when you're hearing chaos. You've got to at least mention that.
Yeah.
But I hear you on the Pluto slow burn.
Yeah. If I want to feel like I have no idea what's real or what's going on, maybe Neptune,
Yeah. That's true. That's true. Oh my gosh, so funny. All right. And so last, what's your favorite astrology topic to talk about lately?
Saturn-Neptune. The Saturn-Neptune conjunction this year. I think for someone like myself, who I've been a meditator for 16, 17 years of my life now, a really regular practice that grounds me. When Saturn and Neptune get together in aspects, the reality of transcendental things or truths becomes a little more palpable. They become a little bit more concrete. And for me, that's really relieving. So I've experienced this transit as like some harder things, but a lot of it has been very solid reminders that no, I'm walking a path home to source. I'm walking with spirit. Divinity is what my life is about. Like these core spiritual values for me that this transit, even if it's difficult, makes so crystal clear. And it's like, yeah, okay, thank you. Because it really like the Buddhist monks were walking across the country. They were walking to DC as Saturn and Neptune were getting together. And I think for a lot of people, you see the people in the streets who were greeting those monks, and everyone was like, look at the peace on these monks' faces and their bodies and the way that they're holding a kind of consciousness that we all know is possible, but we forget, and then you'd see people just weeping when they saw these monks, not because none of these people were Buddhists. They weren't, but they were seeing something that was real evidence that a transcendental focus is attainable. It's not a myth. It's not a movie. It can happen. And that's Saturn Neptune. And I've been really, really loving working with this one this year.
Yeah, that's awesome. I hadn't really thought about it in those terms. So many times people are talking about the dissolving of structures and what's falling apart. But I love kind of putting it in the opposite spin, making faith real.
Yeah, because that's obviously the other pieces are there too. The dissolution of structures and boundaries. And, but yeah, that piece of it for me has been the most exciting part. Yeah.
I love it. Well, thank you so much. I am just so thrilled to be here talking with you.
Yeah, let's
and
do it
meeting
again.
you. Absolutely. Thank you so much.
You bet.
Take care.
So one of the things Adam said that really stuck with me was his answer to my question about which planet has caused the most chaos in his life. I loved that he immediately laughed and said, they all have different kinds of chaos, because they absolutely do. But he ultimately landed on Uranus. Not because Uranus is bad. Adam acknowledged Uranus can bring really good things. But he described Uranus energy as destabilizing, erratic, and really hard to predict. And listening back to this conversation, I thought, wow, that is pretty much the perfect description of the energy we're sitting in right now. Because today, August 12th, 2026, we're having a solar eclipse in Leo. And even though this eclipse is happening in Leo, it's activating the entire Leo-Aquarius axis. And the modern ruler of Aquarius is Uranus. So there is a very Uranian feel to this eclipse energy we are sitting in. Eclipses in general have a way of accelerating our story. They can bring sudden changes. They can redirect us in ways we didn't expect. And sometimes they open doors we didn't even know were there. And when we're sitting in energy like this, we can't always control what changes or where we might be redirected. But we can control how we navigate it. And that reminded me of an episode I recorded about 6 months ago during our last eclipse season, all about how to handle sudden changes and cosmic redirection. In that episode, I shared 4 tips for navigating exactly this kind of energy. And honestly, they're the same tools I would give you to work with the energy we're in today. First, clear your schedule wherever you can. Give yourself a little extra space for the unexpected. Second, if the universe keeps nudging you in a different direction, pay attention. Sometimes the redirection is the point. Third, do your moon. When life feels a little chaotic, come back to your moon sign and do what you need to feel grounded, safe, and emotionally supported. And fourth, be extra kind to the people around you, because eclipse energy doesn't look the same for everyone, and we don't always know what someone else might be going through. So I'll put the link in the show notes if you want to go back and listen to that full episode. But that actually brings me right back to Adam, because at NORWAC, in addition to this conversation I recorded with him, I heard Adam speak several times, and I was really struck by his kindness and the empathy and compassion he brings to the way he talks about astrology and the way he interacts with people. Adam has this incredible wealth of knowledge, but there's also a real gentleness in the way he shares it. And I really enjoyed having the opportunity to talk with him. So, as we move through this eclipse energy and whatever changes or redirections it may bring, give yourself a little grace and extend that same grace to the people around you too. And if you want to hear more about this particular eclipse and the bigger Leo-Aquarius story, I talked more about it in this Sunday's episode of the Fun Astrology podcast. If you're a newer listener here, you may not know that every Sunday I join the Fun Astrology podcast to give you a big picture look at the moon for the entire week ahead. Fun Astrology is a daily astrology podcast where my friends Thomas and Kristen walk you through the major transits and energies of each day. And then every Sunday, I zoom out and walk you through where the moon will be every day, which sign, and the emotional energy you may encounter, not only in yourself, but in the people around you. So if you like the practical astrology we talk about here, and you want a little extra daily astrology to help you navigate your everyday life, definitely come find me over there too. I'll put the link in the show notes to last Sunday's episode. And one more quick update. Last week, I told you that Colin Bedell and I were talking about doing a live stream together. Well, it's happening. We're still working out the exact date and where we'll be streaming, but right now we're looking at the week of August 24th. So stay tuned for all the details because I think that conversation will be really fun. And finally, as we move through this eclipse week, remember what Adam said about Uranus. Yes, it can be destabilizing. It can be unpredictable, but it can also bring really good things. So maybe lean into it. Ask yourself, what are you ready to change? Where might a little disruption actually be a good thing? And if something new opens up, maybe try to react with less uneasiness and more excitement about what's coming. All right, you guys, as always, I love and appreciate you all. Thanks again for listening. Take care, and I'll see you next time. Hey, Astro friends, if you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, follow the show, or leave a review. Let's keep growing this beautiful little community together.